Well, we're back at the tomato patch again, and it's been, let's see, we planted these on Memorial Day. It's now Father's Day, so it's time to string them. I mentioned back then that we would be coming back to y'all with a kind of a lesson about stringing them and whatnot, but before I put the strings on, I'm going to prune these things. They've been, for the most part, very vigorous. So what I'm trying to do, I had mentioned in the previous video that you do not want to allow leaves and whatnot to touch the ground. So I'm pruning to avoid that, and they sucker a lot. What they call a sucker, it's not somebody that gets ripped off at the carnival, but it can be. Suckers are these that come out from where the leaf hooks onto the stem. That's called a node. Can you say that? Node. Very good. Now, what I'm doing is I'm pruning off all this stuff here, and this leaf is going to touch the ground. See, there's the leaf, there's the sucker. We don't want too many of those. This first pruning is very important because it gets you off on the right start. It allows air and water to move freely around, especially air. You want good air circulation because it prevents diseases. And you see, you wind up taking away half of your plant, which to some might be disturbing. But see, this is how it's going to be strung. Notice, no leaves touching the ground, nothing growing up from the bottom. Nice clean. When leaves touch the ground, they get funguses, they get all kinds of, maybe some bacteria and whatnot in there. And we do not want that, because that is detrimental to the plant. And what's detrimental to the plant means you get less production out of it. So anyway, we'll pause there while I prune these things up. We have, how many? 48 of them. Mm-hmm. I lost one because it's been so wet down towards the end where water gathers. But I replaced it, and we'll see how it does. It's just cherry tomatoes down there, so you know, all you really need is one of them anyway, so because you get so many. But once I get these pruned, I'll come back and we'll show you how to put the strings on them. It's really kind of a pain in the tuchus when they're this low because you got to bend over. And I find the older I get, the more reluctant I am to bend over much. Going down is one thing, standing up quite another. Anyway, I guess I could lose a few pounds. But anyway, we'll just take it from there when we get back.
Okay, you can see some of the debris we left behind. They've all been pruned. And here's Sammy.
And now we're going to start stringing them up. I use plastic baling twine that comes, as far as I know, it comes in orange and black, kind of Halloween kind. I like to use the orange kind for two reasons. One, it's easier for an old man like me to see it. Two, it doesn't seem to get as hot in the sun and kind of scorch the stems of the plant. This is stuff we use. I've been using this. I bought this batch about 20 years. It comes in two of these little kegs like this in a box. And I bought two of them 20 years ago, and I'm still using them. I just take them off and I roll them up on this. Now you want to roll them up on this, as you'll see through the activity, because it's a pain in the tuchus to move this around like we're going to need to do. Well, this is one of those jobs where you start at the bottom and work your way up. I'm going to tie it off here. Go around a couple times. Nothing fancy, just a regular square knot. Then I'm going to let it out. I'm going to go on the left side of this plant and the right side of this plant. This is the one I transplanted. You'll see better. Then I come around. Keep it tight. I pull it tight. Wrap it around twice like that. Now in this one, I'm going to lift him up, tuck him under, then I go around the opposite side of this plant. And you use the little bumps on the T-post to help hold it in position so it doesn't slide up and down on the stake. Then we go on this side of this plant and the opposite side of this plant.
So you can kind of see how it's going to hold them up.
Right. And when we come back, I'll just do this so y'all can see. We're going to come back on the other side of this plant. The lines will cross in the middle and then the other side of this plant. But we go all the way to the end and then we come back. We'll have to do this maybe 3 more times until we run out of post. And then the plants just flop over. However, what we can do if we want to is we can extend the height of the post to however high we want by strapping some bamboo to it, maybe every other post or whatnot. Because by that late in the season, by the time they get that high and you got tomatoes coming out your nose, you don't really care what happens to them. But that's the way it goes. And when we get down and start coming back, we'll resume so you can see how it makes an X. And I'll probably string them again in 2 or 3 weeks and work the way up. And it makes like a hedgerow of tomatoes. It's easy to pick. You just reach in and grab them. Don't have to reach through cages. But the main thing is support them and don't let leaves touch the ground. If I happen to go back and see leaves touching the ground,
they get snipped.
That's right. That's what all this garbage you see on the side here is. You know, I become Sam the Destroyer. Anyway, I guess that's about all I got to say about it right now. If I think of anything, we'll come back.
We'll come back. Yep.
All right.
Go.
Okay, we've got all of our string on now. And thank God, because that's awfully hard on old man's back. You can see how they come across. And they cross in the center. Kind of tight, not like a guitar string, but pretty close. But anyway, this will hold them up. And then they'll grow. And then we'll go, the next string will probably be somewhere about here. Then the next one will be about here. And the next one will be about here. And then we're done because I have nothing to hold on to there. So we're going to leave these alone. They look a little raggedy right now because they need to reorient. They'll find the sun and move towards it. The scientific term for that is called phototropism. That means the plant grows where the light comes from. You can look up more about that, about cell elongation and all that if you're interested. But anyway, you can look around a little bit and you can see our corn is doing pretty good over here.
Zoom a little bit. I'd say it's probably taller than knee-high, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it's almost waist-high. And at that end we have our tobacco. And in the rest of the patch, you see a lot of weeds right now.
This patch right here?
Yeah. What I'm going to do after I get all this stuff cleaned up is I'm going to be Sam the Destroyer. And I'm going to round up all that. It's all prepped for plant. What I do is I prep it and let it set for 2 or 3 weeks. That lets all the little weedlings germinate, and then I nuke them with Roundup. Remember, glyphosate is our friend. Glyphosate is good. And it kills everything, and I get 90-95% of them that are in that germination zone. I don't like to cultivate because that just stirs up new weeds. But better things for better living through chemistry. And I got to go in and I'll do it late in the evening around the tobacco when the wind factor is low. Use low pressure on the sprayer, and then I can work in close when there's not much wind, because low pressure means big drops. Big drops don't blow around, and if there's not any wind, I don't have to worry about them. And we got peppers here. They're doing good. I planted those like last week. Cucumbers are going to be along this fence. They're starting to come up. We got another patch of corn over here, which is doing good.
It's doing real good.
Yeah. We've had a lot of rain, and that's been, it's been too much. It's kind of stunning some things, but we're due for a dry period, and that'll take care of that. And what are you going to do, you know? Like my dad says, he says, you know, I complain about the weather. He says, well, you know what you can do about it, don't you? Since it is Father's Day, we'll give him that honor. And he's right, you know. But anyway, we got black-eyed peas here. And then the next row we got little sunflowers coming up, and then the next row we got okra, and the next row where the straw is going to be summer squash. We got half the row already planted. It's coming up. We've had to delay planting because of, like we said, floods and rain and everything else, but they'll move along. You just do the best you can do. I mean, there's really no substitute for busting your ass. But, you know, so that's the best way to go. Use your head for something besides a hat rack and bust your ass. So, anyway, I'm going to go be the destroyer now.
All right. Thanks for the update, Sammy.
Okay, we'll be back later with other things.
Okay, bye-bye.